Today is Monday, April 25th. We're talking about top White House officials visiting Ukraine as fighting escalates in the country. Also, an early start to what's shaping up to be a devastating wildfire season. We'll tell you where fires have caused the most damage over the weekend. Plus, the most and least affordable places to buy a home, a new measure in Europe meant to get toxic content off the internet, and the kinds of movies doing the best at the box office these days. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in about 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Lacey Evans, filling in for Erica Mandy today. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Ukrainian and American officials held their highest-level face-to-face talks since Russia first invaded Ukraine. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin met with Ukraine's President Zelensky in Ukraine's capital last night, and they told Zelensky the U.S. would send another $465 million worth of military assistance at least. That's on top of the $3.7 billion in aid the U.S. has already sent since Russia first invaded. Still, Ukraine says even more is needed to end this war that's already left several Ukrainian cities in ruins, thousands of people killed, and millions more uprooted. The visit came as Ukraine entered the third month of war with Russia, and there doesn't seem to be an end in sight. Just yesterday, the Russian military reported hitting hundreds of Ukrainian targets. But Ukraine says it's been pushing the Russian troops back, keeping them from advancing any further. So far, there hasn't been independent confirmation of either country's claims. This week, the head of the United Nations will meet with Russia's president and Ukraine's president to talk about peace. Also this week, American diplomats who left Ukraine before the war started will reportedly return to the country, and the U.S. will soon reopen its embassy in Kyiv. To be continued. French President Emmanuel Macron was reelected, and that means he's the first French president in 2 decades to win a second term. He overcame a stronger-than-expected challenge from far-right leader Marine Le Pen. A lot of eyes were on this one, since Le Pen has attacked NATO, the EU, and the U.S., and she has strong ties to Russia. She had a lot of support in France, mostly because she framed her campaign as a fight against inflation. And not all French people are happy with Macron's economic policies or his response to COVID-19. So even though Macron did have a solid win, Le Pen had more votes than any far-right candidate has ever had in a presidential election. Still, she has officially conceded defeat, and President Macron has claimed victory. Americans are saying goodbye to the longest-serving Republican in U.S. Senate history. Former Senator Orrin of Utah passed away at 88 years old, but he leaves behind a long legacy. Hatch served 42 years in the Senate, and in that time, sponsored or co-sponsored nearly 800 bills. Those include the Americans with Disabilities Act and the Children's Health Insurance Program. And Hatch was known for working across the aisle. In fact, the late Democratic Senator Ted Kennedy was one of his closest friends. President Biden paid tribute to Hatch yesterday by calling him an American original who fought to make the country a better place. It was a historic trial within the ranks of the U.S. military, and it ended with a top-ranking Air Force commander being found guilty of sexual misconduct, making that the first-ever conviction of a general in the military branch's history. A military judge found Major General William Cooley guilty of forcibly kissing a woman back in 2018. After the verdict, that woman said she hopes the outcome of this trial makes it easier for the next sexual assault survivor to come forward. Major General Cooley now faces 7 years in jail. He could also lose his rank, pay, or benefits. He'll find out soon. Cooley's sentencing hearing is set to begin today. The southwestern U.S. is dealing with several wildfires that have been burning out of control for days now. They have spread across about 235 square miles in Arizona, Nebraska, and New Mexico. People have had to evacuate from at least 4,000 homes, and hundreds of buildings have burned to the ground. The Sunset Crater Volcano National Monument in Arizona has also been destroyed, and sadly, fires have become deadly in Nebraska. A retired fire chief who was trying to help firefighters died over the weekend, and at least 15 other firefighters have gotten hurt. But other crews are still not giving up. Firefighters are trying to put out these fires from the ground and the sky with trucks, helicopters, and air tankers. Thankfully, they're getting a little bit of help from the weather today. The winds aren't quite as strong, and the temperatures aren't quite as high as they were the last couple of days. More news is coming up, but first, here's your main host, Erica Mandy, with a quick word from our sponsor.
I'm sure you've heard a lot about thread count when it comes to sheets, even if you don't fully get why it matters. Well, Boll & Branch points out it doesn't really matter how many threads you have if they are not the best threads possible in the first place. Boll & Branch uses the best 100% organic cotton threads for a superior softness and better night's sleep. I actually have Boll & Branch sheets on my bed right now, and I love them. They're really comfortable, yet breathable. I'm sleeping super well, and they only get softer with each wash. Really. Plus, I love the look of the color we chose. It's called Shore. It's a nice light blue. I have the signature hemmed sheets. They're actually the best seller, and it's for a reason. They have more than 10,000 stellar reviews. Plus, I love that they're 100% free from toxins, so no pesticides or other harsh chemicals. Missed the Boll & Branch April sale? Well, my listeners get exclusive access to a post-sale 20% site-wide discount through the end of April with the promo code NEWSWORTHY at bollandbranch.com. That's Boll & Branch, BOLLAND, branch.com with the promo code NEWSWORTHY for 20% off through the end of April.
Airlines are facing a pilot shortage that's gotten so bad, some are having to replace planes with buses. The regional airlines are having the hardest time hiring enough people to fly their short routes, aka the puddle jumper flights. So airlines like United and American have linked up with charter bus services to take people to and from larger airports. For example, people who are going to places like Breckenridge, Colorado, can hop on a United charter bus from Denver. Or people can go from American's Philadelphia hub to Atlantic City. But that's not the only way airlines are dealing with the pilot shortage. Delta no longer requires a 4-year college degree for prospective pilots. SkyWest started recruiting foreign pilots from Australia. And many airlines have scaled back plans to resume their pre-pandemic flight schedules. So how bad is this pilot shortage anyway? Well, federal labor statistics show the industry needs to hire an average of 14,500 pilots every year until the end of this decade. It looks like big tech companies are going to have to get more serious about policing their platforms in Europe. The EU reached a deal on landmark legislation called the Digital Services Act, or DSA. It would force Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, and other outlets to do more to combat misinformation, among other things. Basically, any kind of hate speech, terrorist propaganda, or anything else considered illegal in Europe will also be illegal online. Services with more than 45 million active users in Europe will face the strictest rules. They'll have to do a yearly audit for all kinds of risks linked to their businesses, like any kind of impact on democracy, consequences for users' mental health, and more. They'll have to be more transparent about the algorithms they use to recommend content to users, and they won't be able to target anyone based on their gender, race, or religion. And those are just a few examples of what's included. Platforms that don't follow the rules could get fines of up to 6% of their revenue. For companies like Google and Facebook, that could add up to billions of dollars. The agreement still has to pass the European Council and Parliament, but reports say that's nearly guaranteed to happen. Then it could catch on in other countries. One of the officials who helped draft the DSA in Europe says she's already spoken with leaders in Japan, India, and other countries about the legislation. Expect some changes to the 2 biggest app stores around the world. First, the Google Play Store. A new company policy will effectively ban any apps that you can use to record calls, and it's not exactly clear why. Technically, Android users can still get the call recording apps elsewhere, just not through the Google Play Store. Although many security experts say going that route could leave you open to potential security and privacy risks. Separately, it looks like Apple's App Store is removing all apps that are outdated. The Verge got hold of an email that says it will take down any app that hasn't been updated in a significant amount of time. Some developers have been complaining about it since they say their apps don't need any updates. But if you have old apps on your phone that you use, don't worry. Anything already on your devices now will stay there. Once again, a family movie has dominated the weekend box office. The animated comedy The Bad Guys brought in $24 million in the US and Canada on its debut weekend, way more than any other movie out there right now. But the second spot at the box office also went to a cartoon, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. A media analyst at ComScore told NBC News, this bodes well for more family-friendly movies coming out this summer, like a Toy Story spinoff called Lightyear, set to hit theaters this June. And the latest movie from the Despicable Me franchise, Minions: The Rise of Gru, coming out in July. Detroit Tigers star Miguel Cabrera has made history. He became only the 7th player in MLB history to have 3,000 hits and 500 home runs, and he did it in Detroit. The hometown crowd gave him a standing ovation and chanted his nickname Miggy as fireworks shot out of the scoreboard. All the Tigers and Cabrera's family came out onto the field to embrace the latest member of baseball's elite. Even players on the opposing team, the Colorado Rockies, came over to congratulate him. Oh, and the Tigers went on to win the game 13-0. That's it for the main news, so now it's time for Money Monday, where we talk about one interesting money-related news story. But first, here's Erica again with more about our sponsor, Rothy's.
We've talked about it right here on the podcast, that Earth Day was April 22nd, and really April is Earth Month. So that means for a lot of us, the state of our planet and how we treat it is top of mind. We care, and we want to do what we can to take care of the Earth. Well, Rothy's cares too. Everything Rothy's makes is better for the planet. They've repurposed millions of water bottles into their signature thread that goes into all of their products. We're talking shoes, bags, and other essentials. And it's not just the fabrics that are sustainable. They also use other sustainable practices to create better shoes and less waste. I just love that it seems like a win-win-win when I buy from Rothy's. My Rothy's shoes look great, they feel great because they're so comfortable, and they're great for the planet. When you're wearing Rothy's, your footprint feels lighter than ever. And right now, you can get $20 off your first purchase today at rothys.com/newsworthy. Again, get $20 off your first purchase today at Rothys, ROTHYS, rothys.com/newsworthy.
Now back to Money Monday. We've been talking a lot about how home prices in general have been going up all around the globe. But where can you find the best deal? Well, according to one new study, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania is the most affordable city for housing around the world, followed by Oklahoma City and Rochester, New York. The nonprofits behind the study came up with the rankings by comparing home prices to household incomes. But really, the prices alone are far lower in Pittsburgh than they are in most big cities. Realtor.com says the median listing price for a typical home there is about $223,000, down nearly 14% from this time last year. And that's compared to the national median listing price of $405,000. As Money Magazine reports, the number of new home listings has been growing in Pittsburgh, so the inventory is good. And competition isn't quite as fierce as it is elsewhere. The median number of days a house sits on the market in Pittsburgh is 61 days. But in Denver, Colorado, for example, it's more like 9 days. Still, Denver doesn't rank the worst on the list. The cities ranked least affordable are Hong Kong, Sydney, Australia, and Vancouver, Canada. All right, thank you for listening today and every day. We'll be back with much more news to know tomorrow. For now, have a great day.